Trusty.
Trusty.
He had his trusty old penknife with him.
Truth. Truth.
How do we know you're telling us the truth? She hoped to find out the truth about her family. We'll never know the truth behind what happened.
There was some truth in the accusations.
There wasn't a grain of truth in what he said.
There was an element of truth in what he said.
There is no truth in the rumour.
The experience has taught us some basic truths.
It is in his interest to hide unhappy truths about his agency's performance.
Early independence leaders were in truth little better than rebels. If the truth be known, I felt a little left out at school.
To tell the truth, I was frightened to death.
Truth drug.
Truth drug.
Truthful.
Truthful.
A truthful child.
You and I must be truthful with each other.
I have only one question to ask you, and I want a truthful answer.
Answer this question truthfully.
Try.
Try.
Let's have a rest, and then we'll try again.
He tried to control his voice.
She was trying not to cry.
Try and take some form of daily exercise.
She dabbed at her face and tried hard not to sniff.
I tried everything to lose weight with no success.
I tried my best to comfort her. I tried and eventually I was offered a job.
Try as he might, he could not get the incident out of his mind.
They didn't get any goals, but it wasn't for lack of trying.
She couldn't speak French if she tried.
It works really well. You should try it.
They decided they would try living in America for a while.
Try logging off and logging on again. If I'm going out for a meal, I prefer to try something different.
We tried the machine on hardwood and softwood. Petra's trying the baby on solid foods.
Always try a sleeping bag for size before you buy it.
Would you like to try some crisps?
Sorry, he's not in. Would you like to try again later? Let's try Mounsey Street. He could be there. She tried the door and it opened.
He tried the handle, but the door was locked.
He was tried for attempting to murder his wife.
The defence argued that a regional court was not competent to try their case.
The programs take too long to load and try the patience of young pupils.
I tried my hand at water skiing for the first time.
After the war, my father went to Canada to try his luck at farming. She is naughty, that one. She tries it on with me sometimes.
When I came back in, one of the men was trying it on with my wife.
I decided I must try for some paid work.
We've been trying for a baby for 9 years.
Meg was trying on some red sandals.
I'm trying out a new computer.
She enjoyed trying her French out on Jean-Pierre.
In high school, I tried out for all the female leads. She didn't manage to break the record, but it was a good try.
You really think you can do that? I'm going to have a try. What are the chances of getting tickets now? I guess I could give it a try.
It might sound a ludicrous excuse, but he thought it was worth a try. Only half the students passed the test on their first try. I decided to give modelling a try.
Wines from Apulia's ancient vineyards are well worth a try.
Trying.
Trying.
That child is very trying. The beginning of the show is often a trying time because of latecomers.
They do the best they can in trying circumstances.
Tryout. Tryout. Baseball tryouts.
Tryout.
Tryout.
Tryst.
Tryst.
Saw.
Czar.
Czarina.
Czarina.
Czarism.
Czarism.
Tsetse fly.
Tsetse fly.
T-shirt.
T-shirt.
She was wearing jeans and a t-shirt.
Add 2 teaspoons of salt. Add 2 teaspoons of salt.
T-square.
T-square.
Tsunami.
Tsunami.
Tub.
Tub.
A tub of ice cream.
A margarine tub.
Trees growing in tubs.
We ate a tub of ice cream.
I had a long soak in the tub.
Tuba.
Tuba.
Tubby.
Tubby.
A tubby little man.
Tube.
Tube.
Pasta tubes.
A toilet roll tube.
A tube of toothpaste.
The bronchial tubes.
Take the tube to Acton. A tube station. It's best to travel by tube.
When Moira turned up, Tess could see all her good work going down the tubes.
What's on the tube tonight?
Tuber.
Tuber.
Tuberculosis.
Tuberculosis.
Tube sock.
Tube sock.
Tube top.
Tube top.
Tubing.
Tubing.
Rubber tubing.
Tub thumping.
He's still addressing rallies in his usual tub-thumping, arrogant way.
Tubular.
Tubular.
Tubular metal furniture.
Tuck.
Tuck.
Jack tucked his shirt in.
She tucked an unruly lock of hair behind her ear.
Giles was tucking his pile of books under his arm.
He took the glasses off and tucked them in his pocket.
The village of Eam is tucked away behind the hills.
The envelope was tucked away in her jewel box.
Every member of the family can now tuck away either £9 or £18 a month in one of these savings plans.
Stand up straight and tuck in your tummy.
The ice creams came and we tucked in.
They tucked into a hearty breakfast of eggs.
Dad tucked me up in his and Carrie's bed.
I ought to be tucked up in bed now.
A tummy tuck.
The school tuck shop. Tucker.
Tucker.
By the end of the day, we were all tuckered out.
Tude.
Tude.
The trend of restaurants serving nasty tude with their food.
Tudor.
Tudor.
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
The sale starts on Tuesday.
I'll see you Tuesday.
He first heard the news on Tuesday evening. It was my birthday last Tuesday. I'm sorry, I can't make it this Tuesday. Shall we meet next Tuesday?
We left Miami on a Tuesday.
Tuft.
Tuft.
Tufts of grass.
Tufted.
Tufted.
A tufted duck.
Tug. Tug.
The woman gently tugged his arm.
Jo was tugging at her sleeve.
Alice was tugging on a sweater.
She removed the bandage with a sharp tug.
Kate felt a tug of jealousy.
Tug of love.
Tug of love.
Tug of war.
Tug of war. There was a constant tug of war between the military and the president.
Tuition.
Tuition.
I had to have extra tuition in maths.
When I started college, tuition was $350 a quarter.
Tuk-tuk.
Tuk-tuk.
Tulip.
Tulip.
Tule.
Tool.
Tum.
Tum.
I've lost another 2 inches from my tum.
Tumble.
Tumble.
She lost her balance and tumbled backwards.
A few stones came tumbling down the cliff.
We tumbled out into the street. Oil prices have tumbled.
Mortgage rates tumbled to their lowest level for 25 years.
Her long dark hair tumbled over her shoulders.
The words tumbled out as if he hardly knew what to say first.
A narrow stream tumbled over the rocks.
Removing the debris could cause the rest of the building to come tumbling down.
In the last year, barriers have come tumbling down.
It's possible that stocks could take a tumble next year.
Tumble down.
A tumble-down cottage.
Tumble dryer.
Tumble dryer.
Tumbler.
Tumbler.
Tumbleweed.
Tumbleweed.
Tumbling.
Tumbling.
Tumescent.
Tumescent.
Tummy.
Tummy.
He was up all night with tummy ache. Tumour.
Tumor.
A brain tumour.
Tumult.
Tumult.
I could simply not be heard in the tumult.
The whole country is in tumult. Tumultuous. The tumultuous years of the Civil War. He received a tumultuous welcome.
Tumultuous applause.
Tumulus.
Tumulus.
Tuna.
Tuna.
Tundra.
Tundra.
Tune.
Tune.
That's a nice tune. She sang some old classics and a few new tunes.
The song was sung to the tune of Amazing Grace.
They sang perfectly in tune.
Greg's bass guitar was out of tune.
The industry is changing in tune with changing demand.
Canada is funding the program to the tune of $30 million. Someone's coming tomorrow to tune the piano.
The radio was tuned to a classical station.
A species finally tuned to life in the desert.
People get their information by tuning into foreign radio stations.
More than 150 million Americans tuned in to watch the final episode.
Try to tune into your partner's needs.
The company aims to be more tuned in to customer needs.
A bored child may simply tune out.
I learned to tune out the background noise.
The band were tuning up their guitars.
Tuneful.
Tuneful.
Tuneful melodies.
Tuneless.
Tuneless.
Tuneless humming.
Tuner.
Tuner.
Tune-up.
Tune-up.
He is treating the semi-finals as a tune-up.
Tungsten.
Tungsten.
Tunic.
Tunic.
Tuning fork.
Tuning fork.
Tuning peg.
Tuning peg.
Tunnel.
Tunnel.
A railway tunnel.
The Channel Tunnel.
Tunnel vision.
Tunnel vision.
I've got tunnel vision when it comes to what I want to do.
Tunny.
Tunny.
Tuppence.
Tuppence.
Tuppenny.
Tuppenny.
Tupperware.
Tupperware.
Turban.
Turban.
Turbid.
Turbid.
Turban.
Turban.
Turban. Turban.
Turbo.
Turbo.
An Audi turbo diesel.
Turbocharged.
Turbocharged.
Turbocharger.
Turbocharger.
Turbojet.
Turbojet.
Turboprop.
Turboprop.
Turbot.
Turbot.
Turbulence.
Turbulence.
A period of political turbulence followed the Civil War.
Turbulent.
Turbulent.
The turbulent times of the French Revolution.
He has had a turbulent political career. The dark turbulent waters of the river.
Turd.
Turd.
Tureen.
Tureen.
Turf.
Turf.
Soft green turf.
How vigorously will the local companies defend their turf?
We beat Canada on their home turf.
Turf wars among government bureaucracies.
The families claim they're being turfed out of their homes.
Turf accountant.
Turf accountant.
Turf.
Turf accountant.
Turgid.
A turgid social science textbook.
Turk.
Turk.
Turkish.
Turkish.
Turkish bath.
Turkish bath.
Turkish coffee.
Turkish coffee.
Turkish delight.
Turkish delight.
Turmeric.
Turmeric.
Turmoil.
Turmoil.
The prospect of another week of political turmoil.
Ashley gazed at him, her thoughts in turmoil.
Turn.
Turn.
Ricky turned and walked away. She turned her head in surprise.
Dan turned away, hiding the fear in his eyes.
He turned around to look at Kim.
No, she said, turning her head to see David's reaction.
Bridget glared at him, turned on her heel, and stomped out of the room.
You may turn over your exam papers now.
The firemen turned their hoses on the blaze.
Could you turn your chairs to face this way? He turned down the corner of the sheet to peep at the baby.
I watched until he turned the corner.
Turn left at the church.
She cycled up the street and turned into Long Road.
Turning the car around, we headed home. Further on, the river turns east.
The road turns sharply at the top of the hill.
The wheels turned slowly, then picked up speed.
For some reason, the key wouldn't turn.
She gently turned the handle of the bedroom door.
Rose's hair was already turning grey.
In October, the leaves turn orange and yellow.
The sun had turned the sky a glowing pink. Then it turned cold and started to rain.
The police are worried that the situation could turn violent.
Many investors have turned their attention to opportunities abroad.
Phil turned his gaze towards the older man.
As usual, the conversation turned back to her children.
Now is the time of year when thoughts turn in the direction of summer holidays.
Next, the senator turned to education.
How can you turn your back on your own mother?
In his 20s, he turned his back on his Catholic faith.
Angrily, she turned her back on him.
My son's just turned 18.
It's just turned 3.
Turn the sweater inside out before you wash it.
Thieves had turned the house upside down.
New approaches to marketing turn old practices upside down.
Her opinion of him had been turned on its head.
The manager of the hotel chain claims that they have turned the corner.
Turn the dough out onto a lightly floured board.
There are some criminals who cannot be turned loose onto the streets.
Mills turned the game by scoring twice.
The victory turned the tide of the war in North Africa.
Wright turned his ankle in the first minutes of the game. She turned heads whenever she walked into a room.
It did turn some heads when he moved back to the village.
Cohen knows how to turn a phrase in his lyrics.
A distant tractor turning the soil.
Many people had turned against the war. Dave felt she was deliberately turning the kids against him.
The company turned around from losses of £1.4 million last year to profits of £26,800.
At Rockwell International, he had turned around a badly performing division.
After I met him, my whole life turned around.
Fender's batting could turn matches around in half an hour.
You can't just turn around and say that it was all my fault.
Let's turn the whole idea around and look at it from another angle.
We can turn around 500 units by next week.
Every time I turn around, he seems to be checking up on me. The show was so popular, police had to turn people away.
Thousands of applicants are turned away each year.
Anyone who comes to us will not be turned away.
The insurance company has promised not to turn away its existing customers.
Consumers are turning away from credit cards.
Events that turned Henry away from his family.
It's getting late. Maybe we should turn back.
The UN convoy was turned back at the border. The people are turning back to natural resources to survive.
We've promised to help, and there's no turning back.
Can you turn the TV down? I'm trying to work.
They offered her the job, but she turned it down.
I'm not going to turn down an invitation to go to New York.
Josie's already turned him down.
The rebels were told to turn in their weapons and ammunition. My wallet was turned in to the police 2 days later.
When do the library books have to be turned in?
Bimec turned in net profits of £2.4 million.
Last night the team turned in another dazzling performance.
Margrove's wife finally turned him in.
I think I'll turn in early tonight.
Have you all turned in your homework assignments?
The sofa turns into a bed.
A few weeks later, winter had turned into spring.
Hollywood discovered her and turned her into a star.
In a flash, the prince turned into a frog. The witch had turned them all into stone. Weeks turned into months, and still there was no letter.
Don't forget to turn the lights off when you leave.
They've turned the gas off for a couple of hours.
I think we should have turned off at the last exit.
Mark turned off the highway and into Provincetown.
Any prospective buyer will be turned off by the sight of rotting wood.
Men who stink of beer really turn me off.
Jake turned on his computer and checked his mail.
He turned on the gas and lit the stove.
I'm thirsty, she said, turning on the tap.
Peter turned on Ray and screamed, "Get out of my sight!"
As usual, everything turned on how much money was available.
The way he looked at her really turned her on.
Science fiction just doesn't turn me on.
It was Walter who turned me on to vegetarian food.
Simon was good at turning on the charm at parties.
It was a difficult time, but eventually things turned out all right.
It turned out that I was wrong.
As it turned out, he passed the exam quite easily.
That guy turned out to be Maria's second cousin.
Don't forget to turn out the lights when you go.
About 70% of the population turned out for the election.
Thousands turned out to watch yesterday's match against Ireland.
If you can't pay the rent, they turn you out.
The factory turns out 300 units a day.
Elegantly turned out young ladies.
The policeman made him turn out his pockets. Lee decided to turn out the attic.
He'll turn the shop over to his son when he retires.
I'm turning the project over to you.
There is a new plan to turn the land over to wind farming.
Suspected terrorists are immediately turned over to the law.
Within 10 years, the theme park was turning over £20 million. The engine turned over twice and then stopped.
Turn over and look at the next page.
Can we turn over? There's a film I want to see.
Burglars had been in and turned the whole house over.
I don't know who to turn to.
The Namibian government turned to South Africa for help.
Many people here are turning to solar power.
Addicts who turn to crime to finance their habit.
Our laughter turned to horror as we realized that Jody was really hurt.
When water turns to steam, it expands. A sudden storm turned the earth to mud.
Turn to page 655 for more information.
Turn the oven up to 220.
Turn up the radio.
Eventually, my watch turned up in a coat pocket.
You can't just turn up and expect a meal. Steve turned up late, as usual.
Don't worry, I'm sure a job will turn up soon.
The police investigation hasn't turned up any new evidence.
The court case turned upon a technicality of company law.
Whose turn is it to set the table?
It's your turn. Roll the dice.
I think it's our turn to drive the kids to school this week.
You'll have to take turns on the swing.
The students were taking turns reading aloud.
We took turns in pushing the bike along.
Dan and I usually take turns to cook.
Interest rates were cut, and in turn, share prices rose.
Each of us in turn had to describe how alcohol had affected our lives.
According to the map, we missed our turn back there. I think we took a wrong turn coming out of town. Take the second turn on the left. There's a sharp turn coming up ahead.
Make a left turn at the station.
From then on, our fortunes took a downward turn.
My career had already taken a new turn.
The president was stunned by the sudden turn of events.
2 days after the operation, Dad took a turn for the worse.
The short period from the turn of the century until World War I.
Problems that presented themselves at every turn. I gave the screw another 2 or 3 turns.
By turns, a 14-year-old is affectionate, then aggressive, silent, then outspoken.
Kate has a colourful turn of phrase.
What a strange turn of phrase. I'm sorry if I spoke out of turn, Major Carr. You did me a good turn by driving Max home last night.
Youngsters with an independent turn of mind.
Hopefully my luck was on the turn. He's a top goal kicker with a surprising turn of speed.